hop into Champion Select, see what happens, Crazy.
Thank you very much, Dia. There it is, ban number 1, insta-banned,
Yes.
I imagine, coming into this game. As the Vi has joined it, now more and more banned over-picked. The LeBlanc, Tristana, and Nico, triple mid-bans from Red, really targeting Lava's wide pool. And the first pick is the Kai'Sa for Natuno here. I thought they might go for the Maokai, but it's the bot lane instead.
Suggests that we're going to see Ranger as well on a more engaged style champion. The Kai'Sa plus engage, a very powerful duo if you have multiple forms of CC. Means that you stack Kai'Sa's plasma for her and then she can proc that with the 5 stacks very, very quickly. Now Red have got their pick of the litter where they want to go. Do they want to match bot lane? Do they want to take a strong jungle pick for themselves? Do they want to find something that's going to really punish the Kai'Sa in the laning phase? Lots of choices open to them, and the Wukong, kind of this superstar jungler for CBLOL. You got to see it right there, 17 picks, 12 wins, definitely on the right track for a jungler for Red.
Yeah, we have seen Aegis dip his toe into these other facets of the jungle role with the Kindred, with the Ivern, but at the end of the day, we all know there is a mean, nasty Wukong hiding there. We saw it on the international stage at MSI. We've seen it taking heads up and down the rift in the CBLOL in this split, as the Annie is paired with it for Envy. So a very classic mid-jungle duo as of these last few patches. Let's see if Lost have any more spice to add. I imagine they will lock down some sort of engaged support for Ranger, but we'll see what they have on the other pick.
There are plenty of engaged supports to pair with a Kai'Sa, so they're not bound by taking it on the first 3 in case, you know, they get target banned on this second phase. With the Jace locked in, you expect this to go to Lava in the mid lane. It's a pick that he's played a few times, and it also pairs nicely with the Kai'Sa, a very strong poke composition, imagining that we get the W evolve for Natuno nice and early. That combined with the accelerated shock blast from Lava, going to mean that any squishies on the red side are going to be feeling the pain very early.
They certainly are. Lava, someone who's been putting up insane numbers in the damage charts, the CS leads, all of this through the lane, but we just haven't seen that really translate through to anything else just yet. The Jace could be very impactful in that mid game. If he gets one of those leads he's so proficient at getting. The Rakan, the last pick to round us off in the first rotation. So waiting for the bot lane. We could see Titan go back to that Xayah that he has pulled out a couple times. We'll see if it's banned away. And there is the Nautilus removed. That classic Kai'Sa combo by Red.
Rel likely to get taken off the board as well. A very powerful engaged support. We got to see Ranger have a very good game on it yesterday. I like the Xayah ban. Might also want to see just an Aphelios taken off the board from Titan as well. Very good in the early stages at trying to poke out the Kai'Sa with the extended range that the Calibrum provides. And then it leaves, you know, the AD carry you expect to see for Titan come through, and then counterpick Frost, or counterpick for FNB, excuse me, in top lane. And for Red so far, they've got a lot of engage, a lot of dive forward. The Annie wants to get onto the backline. Same for Wukong and Rakan. You can expect to see Ornn, Cassante, Sion, these tank style of tops for FNB if they're looking to get down and dirty through the later stages of this game.
Yeah, for sure. If we can see that tank for FNB, maybe Hedan will have room to go for something with a little bit more agency, as I had hoped in the draft. The Olaf ban, though, we saw FNB turn back to that well in the last game and do some pretty nasty things on it. Now, for Los Grandes, with the Rel and the Nautilus taken away, I'm thinking of leftover engaged supports. I'm thinking Leona or Alistair, maybe, but we haven't really seen so much out of Ranger yet because of this role swap, so I don't know really what he's got in the tank, what off-meta picks he has back there.
Leona is a very good answer. Yeah, that's true, but I think Blitzcrank versus this team is very rough with so much mobility. And so many people that want to be in the backline anyway, so how many favors you doing with the Blitzcrank? Renekton locked in for Hedan on that top lane, so that is the little bit of agency style of top that you would be after.
Gotcha.
This is fake. There's no chance that one gets. I doubt this happens as well. With the Renekton locked in already, though, it is some more agency for that top lane. Bodes very well for any of those tank matchups that I hypothesized for FNB, but it does give him the opportunity to go into something along the lines of a Jax, if I would say, something that also dives into the backline and something that also has a decent enough time versus the Renekton. That skill matchup of who presses Counter-Strike or Ruthless Predator, the stun from Renekton first, also an option. Looks like Red going to opt into something maybe just a little different though.
Yeah, I do like that we've had the blind pick Renekton. It is into a Cassante, so FNB just going back to old reliable up there. And a pick Cassante definitely has been, it feels like it's performing better than the first couple of weeks. I'm not sure if it's actually winning more, but the champion feels like it's doing more, so maybe we're finally getting our hands. FNB, of course, one of our most skilled top laners up there. I imagine I'd have a lot of faith in him to make the use out of this champion, as we've seen. So Dia, give us a quick read on this draft with Lost and Red going into game one.
I'll be honest, Trajan. I'm really liking what we've got from both Los and Red. I think Red's composition speaks for itself, but for Los Grandes, Kaisa has been increasingly more stable recently. I'm excited to see what Natuno can do with it. How are you feeling?
I saw him rubbing his hands when they locked it in. I'll say that much on the player cam. He was like, yes, a champion I can flex on. Mechanics out the wazoo. This is the pick that we want for Natuno. It's safer than the Aphelios, right? Because there's a guy who needs to carry entire games by himself. It's tough when you only have a flash, you know, maybe a ghost if you're lucky. So Kaisa with all that mobility, the invisibility, the shields, certainly a champion that Natuno can be super self-sufficient on when he's trying to carry.
Rudud, in the pre-show, you actually talked about the engaged supports for Ranger, how good he looked on Rel yesterday, and why that might be. I want to sort of toss this to you now that he's locked in the Leona again, another way for him to engage with the team.
There are two squishy backline carries that are sitting pretty for Red. One of them is an Annie, who doesn't have mobility. Ranger's goal this game is to pick either one of the Annie or Zeri out of a lineup, out of position, potentially, to set up for the Maokai follow-through, for the insane amount of poke that is going to come from Lava and Natuno. This is a very strong Leona game for Ranger if he can pilot the champion well, because theoretically he'll never actually have to go in for him to be able to use the CC to kill people. If he can just land one solar flare, that should be enough time to allow Void Seeker, Accelerated Shock Blast to come through, and even if it doesn't take a champion out of a fight, it does a good enough job at chunking them before an objective.
We're going to get to see that one play out super soon as we jump onto the Rift for our first game of the day. Los Grandes versus Reds starts now.
Thank you very much, Dia. Round 8 kicks off here. Red and Los Grandes. Los Grandes really just need to try and find some footing in this second split, Rudy. The 2-5 record, very tough considering their third place finish last split. And Red, I dare say they'd like to open up a bit of a gap between them and the rest of the field, given how many hot competitors they have behind them.
Yeah, a reminder for those of you whose maybe first split is in the CBLOL to all of our English viewers. Top 4 is what you want in order to make the upper bracket of playoffs. Top 6 is to make playoffs, period. But 5th and 6th start in that lower bracket. So as long as you're in the top 4, largely it doesn't make too much of a difference. But obviously the confidence going in, let's say, ending the regular season first, can never be understated.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see both the mid-jungle duos eyeing each other across the rift right here. Of course, as we mentioned in the draft of Wukong Annie, a vicious duo there, and Aegis has been trying to make a lot stick in that mid lane. We did see that go a bit awry yesterday, shall we say, in their game versus Kaboom, but the Wukong Annie a bit more brutal than the Ivern at the early levels, we must say. Some vision denied on the blue side red buff. And Anel will start out down there, passing through that bot side jungle. We'll see if he heads up towards top. Maybe we'll make something happen before he down.
I want to focus a little more down on this bot side and specifically our supports as well. We know both of these ADCs are exceptionally talented, but Frosty has come into this league and genuinely impressed me. A lot of stronger calm play from him to begin with, but it's important to remember that he is a rookie, and not just in CBLOL, but sort of in the Brazilian competitive League of Legends space as well. Didn't have really any showing in Academy before this, got picked up by Titan specifically, said I want this guy as my support, and has definitely delivered. He's up against Ranger, again a role swap to support in his rookie split as a support, but one of the GOATs of CBLOL has been in this league for so long, got moved to support so that he could be the powerhouse of communication, the deciding factor of when to engage, when to take these fights, how to play out the game of League of Legends. It's a very difficult call for Frosty to step into these shoes and try and go up against such a tenured figure of the league.
So true, such a dearth in experience there between the two of them, but Frosty, we saw him solo killing on Lulu under enemy towers in the first week, and Ranger, he has really been settling into his stride, as we said, on the engagers now with the Leona. We only really see Damage pick this specific champion in the support. That's always been a pocket of his. I'm glad to see a little bit more of it, because that extra range on the engage can be exactly what you need. Paired up with the Maokai, we could see Lost try to make some good plays of their own. So coming back to this top lane, Hidan trying to get his wave shoved in, and the Cassante, stable as ever, will be poking with the Nintovo strikes.
And you can see just both of our junglers pathing to the respective lanes that have priority, means that they're going to be able to take their crabs. quite nicely, and then we get to see where the junglers go post-crab. Do they try and lay down a bit of vision before their bases? That's something that you'll typically see. Good to see Hedan already looking to get a really good recall off if he can catch this wave between these two turrets. Proxy the wave means that he gets to reset very early on. Won't have to spend his teleport to get back to lane if he doesn't get stopped here, and it means that he's going to come back into the lane with a nice little advantage in items or a TP if FNB chooses to match.
Very well-mannered opening few minutes from both sides, swapping on sides of the map, pushing in waves, no one's getting too fresh with it. And now we'll have to wait and see who makes the first move. When we're talking about, where are these junglers going to go next, what are they going to do, my assumption is always that what's going to be Aegis. Aegis is going to be the one doing things. He is such an active, enabling jungler in the early stage, getting his lanes ahead, whereas for Enel, we're waiting to see what kind of jungler this guy is going to be, right? He's just been on kind of Sejuani duty, and now he's on the Maokai, which can be quite a backseat jungler. We just throw the ults out where you need to, maybe look for an engage from half a screen away, as Ranger looks for an engage of his own, cancels the W from Frosty. Actually, that burst from Kai'Sa is not to be underestimated, and Rakan will barely step away.
Doesn't get to hold the wave, has to burn his heal as well. It's a trade of the Ignite for Summoner heal there, but Titan does catch the majority of this wave. Not the worst case in the world, as we get to see Lost also taking a nice space. The difference in items just slightly palpable as well. There's actually more AD for Titan with the Doran's Blade double longsword, but Natuno closer to his first item and also has a little bit of attack speed as well with the Noon Quiver. But I wanted to touch on sort of these compositions as a whole, how they're looking to function. We talked about Los Grandes as poke. It means that they're going to set up at objectives very well. Not just the poke, but also the fact that you're going to have Maokai saplings very frequently as well if you can set up control early on. It's very difficult for Red to face check. It's going to be a lot on FNB to stay grouped with the team so that he can take most of the damage as the tank for this squad, or for Frosty to start really utilising Gleaming Quill pre-objective to try and heal up some of that HP that they are bound to lose if Los Grandes are first to that objective. The flip side of that coin is that if Red get even just the slightest lead, face checking for Lost is also quite easy, but it means they don't get the power of their composition fully fleshed out. They're not able to poke pre-entrance to these objectives.
Ranger makes his way onto Titan this time with Frosty in the Dragon Pit, but Zeri will just step away and start peppering them back with the burst fires. And Nell now arriving on bot side, but a lovely tri-brush ward will alert Red to what's going on, and Aegis is also down here. And Nell sticking around though, might be looking to try and bait them in, as Red team really wants to get this wave crashed in.
Spotted out by a nice little roam as well from Envy. So just in case there are any preconceptions about whether Enel had moved or not, able to spot him out once more. He's still waiting, still lurking. Ranger knows that there's no heal.
Ooh, Frosty slips away from the Zenith Blade there. Could have been dicey when he has no extra summoner left. Needs a flash to his name. Enel's still there, still level 5 as well. And Aegis has been farming camps. Is going to be nearing that Cyclone when the Wukong can really get active. He wants to punish Enel, keeps him out of this scuttle pit, so Red do keep a lot of control of the spot side. Just look at all the wards they've got in that river.
Yeah, double control ward from the Pixel down to the River Brush in the lane for bot side. More than happy to know pretty much where Enel is at any given moment. Now Aegis starts this up on vision. He's going to be spotted out, but the question is what prio Grandes have in their lanes. Lava looking to push in that mid lane, and that bot side for Loss is in no good position to try and contest. Enel here largely alone if he wants to go for this. I imagine Red just take this and probably get away scot-free.
You still have all of that control. They know exactly where Enel is. They're going to see Ranger coming from the top side. Envy holding this brush. Maybe they turn onto Lava. They get an early flash. And Envy holds on to the tippers as the Dragon continues. Los Grandes with more bodies down here. They don't seem confident walking into this pit.
Oh no.
Recall channel by Lava. It's just over. The Dragon is going to go. This Ranger will clear out some vision as consolation.
So it takes quite a while there for Aegis to take that Drake. Does ding level 6 off of it. But Enel wasn't really farming in the interim. He managed to take his Krug camp and probably a respawn of Raptors. So not the biggest sacrifice there from Red as another engage comes through.
To Frosty without that summoner, and now they're kind of on the wrong side of town here. A flash away from the Rakan. Titan with no mana. First blood still secured by Natuno. I thought Rakan had made his way out, but absolutely not. And the MVP finds first blood.
No level 6 there had been hit by Natuno, so just waits for Frosty to use all of his escape tools and then Killer Instincts forward. Lands the Void Missile as well. Able to block the Plasma, proc first blood. Nice to see Los Grandes there making the most of the Summoner Spell mismatch on time, as Frosty didn't have heal because it's a 30-second cooldown longer than Ignite. And in the end, that ends up being the difference maker. So that earlier engage from Frosty where he was trying to hold the wave for his AD carry comes back to bite them.
And this is what we'd flagged up in the pregame, right? That Red, sure, they are a very strong bot lane. Frosty's getting the solo kills, but Red and Titan have also been giving away a fair amount of 2v2 kills of their own. And again, we see that here today. Ranger and Natuno continuing to settle in and become a very, very fearsome bot lane duo. Enel was there, but didn't even get an assist. Wasn't required for that kill to happen. As Aegis may be looking on top side, but Hedan not really far enough forward to make that work. And a rotation from Lost into this top side river definitely makes this fight pretty dicey.
This needs to be quick for Lost because they are losing out on Wave's bot lane. You can see Natuno actually already basing so that he can be back in time, which means this is a 4v4 on the top side if we see Red try to contest it.
Nature's Wrath goes out, such a strong tool to dissuade aggression. Enel will find that top side objective and head back to find the scuttle as well. Titan now crashing this wave. We'll get at least a plate for himself. Look at the rotation coming through the jungle. Could be a little bit of a catch onto the MVP. He's got his summoners, he's got his ult, and he has the awareness as well. His own spidey sense tingling here.
Love the communication that comes through there. You can hope that Lava is the one relaying the information. Okay, Annie's missing from mid lane. We don't see Frosty on the map. Natuno, on your way back to the lane, be careful. He misses out on a nice amount of that wave, but is able to catch this follow-up, so it's not the worst thing in the world. You can see Titan level 7 versus Natuno's present level 6. And at the moment, it's actually Titan who's, you know, the better end of the gold between those AD carries, as we got to see flashed on the left there. A little bit of a weird, strange rotation from Titan here. Maybe seeing if they could catch out Lava. Remember, no flash on this Jace, but good to see the quick look. He'll be able to head back to bot lane in time with the power of the Zeri E to get over walls and catch that wave.
Zeri gank, not the most common that we see come through here. Perhaps in the old days of the AP massive laser over a wall where it just does like chunks them half for HP and you can go back to your lane to back what you're doing. But he's going to pick up this wave. Titan on the Zeri. We haven't seen Titan on the Zeri so far this split. It's a lot of a Felios, Zaya, and a Kai'Sa game of his own. But really it's only Brunswick kind of sticking with this one as Hedan commits with the dominance onto FNB. Does have the flash, does have the all-out. Might need to use at least one of them. And flashes back to the top side. There we go, Hedan. Try to get some footing in this top side. Take it to FNB.
Already has one plate, will be able to take a second here as well as catching. Another wave will force teleport likely from FNB, and that generates another advantage for Los Grandes from this top side. Hedan's laning with the blind pick Renekton. Been very impressive for me, given I criticised him yesterday for the weaker performance of the Cassante versus KL matchup. This time on a bit more of a lane bully traditionally in the Renekton, up in CS, up in plates, and generating leads for himself for the map.
As the weeks go by, Rudy, we see more and more of the CBLOL Renekton coming back in. Originally, it was just Lonely, really going back to that one, but now you see more and more people picking it back up. Kiari starting to do work on it. Hedan here making his name in the topside matchup. And it just reminds me of those days, those Robo playoff games, you know, where the Renektons are just straight 1v9ing. And the CBLOL Renekton's definitely something that I always love to see.
Okay, so we see Hedan didn't have to teleport back to that top side. Drake spawning in 40 seconds. FNB already moving down to the bot side of the map. Looking as though we may well see a big contest. This is going to be great for Hedan, though. He's going to be able to push the next wave, likely start wailing away on the turret. And with a completed Gold Drinker, his teleport impact on the fight expected to be quite large. And now actually a level up over Aegis as well, so slight little bit of combat power there in favor of the Maokai. Remember, levels don't just give you the nice bigger health bars, they also give you base statistics across every single thing in League of Legends. Rough estimate is that a level gives you about 500 gold throughout the game, so 500 gold's worth of base stats in favor of Enel as well. As you can already see, Lost starting up in this mid lane, making sure that they can move their way into the river, but it's Red who are very much corralling them away from that.
Herald goes down, a full commit from Frosty. Again, Lava flashes to safety, and L drops the Nature's Wrath to keep himself safe, as now the flight comes in from FNB. Knocks down onto the Maokai, forces a flash as well. And the Herald's still working on that wave, but Red really want this kill, and they will find the Maokai. Envy on the side, catches onto a flashless Lava. Fly Titan looking for the last bit of damage, but it's Envy with the last Q to seal the... And they stop the Herald. Red really had to force that one, but they made it work.
And they come away with 2 kills. This is time spent on the bot side for Natuno. He's able to take a couple of plates and the wave to himself. Re-engage mid here.
Edan wants to get stuck in. He's made his way down. Damage onto Titan, but the knockup's still there. Ranger now left in no man's land. Titan picks up the kill with the burst fires, and the Dragon's still live for the taking.
Really poor decision making in the back half of that from Loss. No way that you're able to win out on that fight, and you can hear the support from the crowds there. Titan, Titan, they're chanting. Gold going into this Zeri, picking up some objectives, picking up some kills. Teleport back in from Loss.
Edan going for round number 2. Didn't like the first one. Natuno is now also here, but Aegis will find the Dragon. Can he get away safely, though? Natuno dives to the wrong side of the wall, and now Aegis is on the other side. Envy to keep him safe, as again Enel ends up dying far behind enemy lines. Another attempt on the play from Lost, but it's another big fat L they walk away with.
Really well executed from Frosty in particular there. Knows that he's going to be the executor, or the person who gets executed on rather, from Enel. And as soon as that twisted advance is channeled, Frosty back into the backline with the grand entrance, manages to pull the Maokai all the way back through. This is the start of the play from the mid lane a long time ago. Lava makes a slash to get away from the Frosty engage, and then just, again, FNB at the right place at the right time, makes his presence felt, and despite this flash, Q3 connects FNB able to dash behind all out to bring the Maokai back forward, and Envy has just walked around the right side of this. No flash on Lava, so he's going to be taken out as well. And then we have a really just head-scratching re-engage. Hidan has no dominus for this fight, taking this, you know, it looks like a 2v2 here, but it's not far for Aegis to walk back.
Yeah, Ranger is calling for this one, right? He's the one engaging with the Zenith Blade, and we liked what he's been doing, all these engaged champions, but a bit of a bad decision there as Lava, again, still flashless, and with the mid-jungle 2-0 contending, will knock him out in that top side, going from bad to worse for Los Grandes. A relatively quiet early game, a kill on the 2-0. It was looking alright for them, but Red picked that excellent fight, and then Loss have kind of dropped the ball.
Mid-game decision-making from Los Grandes certainly not there for the time being. Heading up to this top side to once again try and take a fight now. Lava has got teleport, but is still dead for 10 more seconds. He's going to come back out onto the map with the completed Dusk Blade if he can get here in time. Herald already started, but this one's likely to reset.
He'll pull back. Titan still absorbing that farm. He has been really prioritizing the CS in this early game, and Red have been doing fine with that. A bold TP into the face of Red. He's going to go right onto the quickness, and now both teams just crush into the 5 versus 5. Mid lane goes down. Envy falls to Lava. Now Red trying to fire back as Lava himself is oh so low. A knockback from FNB, and Aegis on the front line. They'll take out Hidan, and the Herald now left in the hands of Red Canids. A tight fight in the mid lane and the river. But a 1 for 2, or a 1 for... Yes, just a 1 for 1 actually. Lava slipped away.
But the Herald, importantly, once again, goes to Red. They've taken 2 Dragons, 1 Rift Herald that we saw just there, and denied any prior from Loss's first Rift Herald in total, and an incredibly brazen teleport from Lava there. As you'd mentioned, into the middle of Red, gets engaged on near instantly. Titan here going to be able to escape using the dash over the wall, as well as taking first brick of the game in the mid lane, opening up the map for Red quite significantly, as well as catching all of that extra bonus gold that he gets exclusively onto the AD carry. He is the feddest member in this entire game, the most farmed, the most gold, pretty much everything you could hope for on your Zeri in the early stages of the game.
We know what Titan being fed usually means. A flash from Envy follows up onto Lava, and again the Jace is caught out, this time in bot side, and a nail forced to flash for the sins of his mid laner. 3 members of Red still threatening under the tower. Another stand from Annie, another engage from Aegis, the knockup from Frosty, and Maokai just getting pummeled under his own bot lane tower.
Really well executed again on this turret dive from Red. Envy knows he's the ranged carry, burns his cooldowns, takes aggro, backs off to the edge of the turret, lets Aegis do the majority of the grunt work, and then as soon as he's about to die, drops turret aggro, and again, credit in fairness to Hidan, he really tried to get out of there, just not able to do it in the 1v3, and you get to see second Herald charge comes through, takes down an inner turret down on the bot side of the Rift. A lot of gold funneled right into the mid-jungle duo, a very powerful duo for this Red side that has proven itself this game.
Okay, Rude Dude, you were speaking confidently in the pregame about Red's last outing versus Kaboom, about the team play that we saw. How do you think that we're still seeing that here today? Obviously, this is a much better result so far in the early game, but how would you rate this second appearance with their team play on display?
definitely 8, 9 out of 10 here. The majority of this has been very, very productive and generally just actually successful, making the 3-man
Yeah.
grouping plays. Aegis and Envy have been a really good unit together as we see a topside 1v1.
Dominus again from Hedown. FMB starting to lose out as Ranger on the rotation. Natuno looking to get in range, maybe for a killer instinct, if they can find some CC. Flashing from Hedown, needs the W there, does find it. Ultin from Ranger again, all out from FNB, but it won't get him to safety. Hedown finally claims that kill, and they'll turn the aggression onto the top lane inner.
Only 4 minions here to take this. Might be a bit of a tall task for them. And you can see 3 people on the minimap collapsing from the red side. We actually see Titan going quite long for this one. Objective bounty plus the turret gold taken, and it looks like Los Grandes have made a play on a side lane that is going to net them just a lot of gold. The fact that we see red rotate away is that they're not getting too much on the flip side. It is going to be soul point secured for red, and it is a mountain dragon, so that survivability when going up against the poke of Los Grandes is certainly going to help out. For the time being, I'm happy with that for Loss. As a proactive play to try and get them some gold to come back for this final Drake fight that we'll see in about 5 minutes' time. It's exactly what they need to be doing.
Exactly. Far from an insurmountable gold deficit Los Grandes are faced with right now, and with the pick potential they have, the burst potential they have, once they start to get more of these items coming through, if they can hold out, they can keep this gold lead roughly where it is at least, there is a chance for them to start picking people up. People like Titan, like Envy, if they get caught up by the CC chain, they will likely not be long for this world. Lost just have to keep things clean up to that stage, because those last few fights have just been going horribly for them. And Lava especially is getting picked off a fair few times. 1 and 3 right now. They need to just keep these members alive so they can show up to these fights intact.
And I, again, want to put some more praise onto Hedan. I know that this game hasn't been the best for Lost in particular, but Hedan has looked like the best member of this Los Grandes roster for this game specifically, and coming up from Academy, having this be your first week in CBLOL, it's a very good showing to start off with.
Lava does not seem to be feeling cowed at all up in the top lane. Goes for another engage, and Frosty was once again round the corner looking to punish. They could actually go for a dive here as Tibbers can step into range. It was the quickness. Lava is allowed to walk away. Did have the flash, and this time at least he will survive.
Yeah, and he's just a bit too far there, so Frosty knows that even with all the CC he could put down, Envy would have to traipse quite far to get the damage down, and with no Tibbers as well, the burst from an Annie a little bit inconsistent, especially with the Sonya's rush second. Deep TP, and here go Loss.
Found a kill just recently, wants to look for another. A counter TP from FNB, and Ranger and Anel coming around the corner. Everyone's piling into top lane. Burst from the Shock Blast. Can Renekton keep himself alive? But the Cold Meat, can he stay there? Massive chunk onto red. And Los Grandes desperately trying to make this work, but Titan in the back line, shredding through the members. Natuno the last to the party. And Red's already sent everyone home. Enel will not be allowed to escape, but it was a close one. But the Canids still coming out on top.
The reliable gap close of the AD carries is actually the difference there. Titan able to be a part of that fight where Natuno was just a bit too far and didn't have access with the killer instinct. Titan is able to early cleanse the Maokai, dart over the walls using his E, and makes the team fight come through. Baron secured for Red, team fight win for our top roster, and now a very strong foothold as they look to take the Baron and a Mountain Soul in 2.5 minutes.
And I'm seeing Hedan's damage in these fights, man. He's working so hard, he's trying, he did everything he needed to with this play.
And you can see here the power of mid lane priority. The Zeri is just a bit further ahead of the Kai'Sa, and that means that the ADC for Red gets there first. As you can see, Natuno on the minimap is just nowhere near this. This 4v4 on the top side looks like that could very easily have gone Los Grandes' way, and Hedon again doing his absolute best in these team fights to cause as much disruption as possible. Unfortunately, this harkens back to something that you'd mentioned a little earlier on, Trajan. Without Natuno, Los Grandes just feel like they're missing a carrion. Hedan has stepped up to do that this game, but without Lava being that present force that we were hoping for from this Jace, comes just a little flat for Los Grandes as they're now looking to draw their attention to this bot soul spawning in about 1.5 minutes. And that's when you can expect to see the final-ish fight if it goes Red's way.
I would imagine so. With the Baron online, a team fight win there. It's going to be Soul, it's going to be turrets, the gold lead's going to balloon. And with Titan as fed as he is, that is normally spells demise for any opponent in the CBLOL. I agree with what you're saying about Los Grandes there. You know, Natuno just had no part in this play, and he seems so essential still for Los Grandes to make this work. I wanted them to have more threats across the map. It feels like they have that now. Hedan, at least in this game, has made himself a real bona fide threat, but now they need to maybe just catch up on the team play, right? Because they had to reset when Trick left. They have to reset again when Bowl left. And it's just so long, it's so deep into the split, while Loss are still kind of starting to build this 5-man roster. This is the first week of all these 5 players playing together, and it looks like that, right? We're still not all on the same page, but those individual pieces are showing up on their own.
Quick little in-game pause. When we know what's going on, we will let you guys know as well, so don't fret. You get a quick glimpse at Natuno's items, and the items in hole for Los Grandes. Now, Lava still just a little bit away from that Mirror Mana completion, and we don't have yet a mythic for Natuno either. Does have Static Shiv, does have Nash's Tooth. He's got the Evolved W. Going to be poking quite significantly with that, but when he gets down and dirty in those team fights, without a Ginsu's Rage Blade, the damage not as present as we might like, and definitely not up to the level that we're going to be seeing from Titan on this Zeri, who's very far ahead of the curve. 3-0 and 6, I think, his scoreline, 40 CS up over his counterpart as well. So the Zeri very, very farmed, and even though we've been begging for Natuno to be able to get into these team fights, I'm still scared that if he can get in there, it may not be as one-sided as it may have been previously.
He might just be diving into his own death if he goes in right now without that Gwynsu's to give him the extra tools that he needs. So maybe we're going to have to see Los Grandes try and leverage that poke. We haven't really seen a full 5v5 for a hot minute here. We haven't seen Los take a chance to leverage that poke from the Jace, from the Kai'Sa, and then turn that into a successful pick or a successful engage onto the backline, maybe picking off someone like Brunsey or Envy before they can make a play. It has always been Red pulling that trigger, Envy especially, on this this Annie, right? Finding so many snap engages, snap stuns to start these fights off right for Red.
With the slightly, not say slower pace, but with the break in the play here, Trajan, we can take a little bit of time to zoom out a little bit for our expectations. And I don't think that this is a disappointing result or an unexpected result for either of these sides. Los Grandes coming into this 2-5. We've got obviously Red Canids 6-1. This puts that little bit of daylight between them and their opposition, at least at the top of the day. But I want to credit Los Grandes again for how competitive they've been through the early stages, and this game hasn't been handed to Red at the very least.
Yeah, it has been, you know, outplays. The fights that we've seen them take, they've been hard fought and hard won. For Red, they had to really scratch and claw to get those early advantages, and they've done well funneling them into the right places. We do get back into live here. This first game at the 23-minute mark. We check back in and see how Red want to approach this. 45 seconds towards that dragon. They have had great river control thus far. They've always been there, well in time to set up the vision and make Loss's job hard. We'll see if maybe Loss can get that poke out when the time comes.
See resets coming through from those members of Red that need to buy items, from Lava as well, who goes back to base, picks himself up what is a last whisper 30 seconds before the Drake spawns. So he might be just a couple seconds late for this setup, but remember, Los Grandes' composition functions the best when it has set up around an objective. Maokai saplings plus poke from Kai'Sa plus Jace is exactly what you're looking for. Mirror Mana just finished for Lava. Los Grandes are as strong as they're going to be relative to Red.
And committing onto FMV, they're making it stick onto a Cassante. Bit of a tall order. Won't take much damage either. As we saw Lava TPing down to the bot lane, not looking for a flank, looking to be with the team, and now the poke starts to come out. Aegis looking to clear vision on the flank. Neither team really started a concerted effort onto this dragon just yet, but now Red have got the damage down. Loss, how do we solve this problem? How do we find the way in? We're looking for Ranger, looking for an L. These have the long-range engage tools as Red drop it ever lower. Down below 5k, FMB and Aegis on the front line. Daring Loss to make a maneuver. Nature's Wrath comes out to the Eclipse, the Solar Flare as well, and that's stolen by Natuno, denies the soul, and finds a kill to boot as well, but will he get out alive? The all-out from FNB, and the chase down from Red is massive. Titan with a perfect stopwatch, just about keeps him alive as Aegis body blocks the Void Seeker, and Nell, discovered in the alcove, will not be allowed to game his way out of there. And it's another fight for Red, but at least Lost denied that Mountain Soul.
Everything goes the way of Red, save for the Mountain Soul. A very important pickup. It was Natuno somehow managing to deny that away. And look at where he is on the minimap. Very cognizant player, Natuno, as he heads into the mid lane, clears out that wave and clears a second one as well. Remember that Red have got had Baron for the majority of this. Weren't able to really push too much with it. You get to see a fight breakdown, and we saw Natuno whiff on one of his Void Seekers, hit the Drake, so the poke from this comes exclusively from Lava. It's NL that starts up with the Nature's Grasp, and we need to see actually how it is that Natuno comes away with this. Is it just spiking the damage down? I guess just that 50-50 ultimately good way of Kai'Sa, but as soon as that engage comes through, Frosty more than willing to sacrifice his life for the greater good. Double flash forward, a perfectly timed stopwatch from Titan, and Aegis dives in front, as you'd said, of that Void Seeker. Again, credit to Natuno for recognizing what he needs to do on the map to save this fight from going even worse after the fact. His range is now a little caught. Never mind.
He's forging out of the base, Titan over the wall, and Hedan pops the Dominus. FNB holding the line. Further inside the jungle is now Renekton getting pulled apart by Frosty and Titan. Engages onto the Rakan Ranger, now flash onto Titan. Engaged by Natuno. They can find the counter carry in the 1 versus 2, but he slides over the wall right into the face of Lava. Can someone take this Zeri down? It will be the 1,000 gold shutdown for Lava. Flashes away from the Rakan W and finds another from Hedan. It's still the team fight win for Red, just about, but some big shutdowns picked up for Los Grandes.
2 for 2 overall, and stopping the snowball. Lava here.
Oh, Cassante moment. Lava, I can see why you thought that would work, but unfortunately, that's not the game we're playing.
Just have to play it as the range Jace there. Unfortunately, now FNB with the red buff light, going to be able to push a little bit further forward. And now coaxing Natuno out of the mid lane. Resets need to come through. Baron spawns in 30 seconds. Lava's going to need to teleport if that's up in time. Tier 1 turret taken in the mid lane. Natuno still wait that mythic item to come through. He's actually opting into the Luden's Echo as his mythic of choice, as opposed to opting into the Rage Blade. So opting very heavily into this W poke. And again, Hedan stepping up on this Renekton, constantly forcing summoner spells, forcing tools from Titan. And in the fight, 30 seconds before a Baron spawns, burning Cleanse and Flash from the Zeri. When you're Renekton with Flash yourself, bodes very well for how this fight could play out. If Renekton can find an angle onto the Zeri, it means that Kai'Sa can as well. And hopefully we can see Los Grandes execute on taking out the 3.5 items Zeri AD can carry.
That was utter chaos in the top side jungle there from both sides, but they managed to pick Titan up at the end of it all, and they keep this game alive for just a little longer. The gold, over 5,000 for Red Canids, and they've got the inside track on this Baron. Again, the vision around the pit and the river for them is exceptional. It's been great all game for Red and Lost. They need to try and mount another miracle, another just forcing the issue into the river. Hedan on the side with FNB, losing out the trade this time, heads back to his team.
Natuno and Ranger based very late there, and it gave that access to start up the Baron. Red, fortunately enough for Lost, had turned away from it as Ranger engages, just slow poking here. Looking to see if they can get a little bit of chip damage down, but as soon as Natuno misses a W, his DPS goes through the floor. 77% refund on the evolved W if it connects, means that you're firing them out at about an every 3-4 second cooldown. If they miss, however, 16-17 seconds before you can fire another one off again.
So much reward for being good, for aiming true on this champion. They need that poke to land. As you say, the builds are indexing into it. They have to get this damage down. They need to soften up that front line as FNB, somewhat isolated with Aegis. Titan now looking across to see what can be done. They will break apart once again. FNB is so tanky on this Cassante. 7-1-6 as Envy with a nasty flank on that Raptor pit.
Flash is ready for Envy as well, and this is when you're looking for an L to scout them out.
Here he goes. Is he gone over the wall? Does he even have the right vision to make this play? Frosty's linked up with him. Still not been spotted, but Lost have to know that they haven't seen Annie for a while, and instead they pivot up the Baron River. They avoid disaster in the mid lane.
But look at this, they're seeding the Mountain Soul. They've recognized that they have to give this, or that they want to give this at the very least, for favor on taking the Baron. Titan, he's not going for it either. Envy doesn't want the Drake Soul just yet. They know that that can be a simple reward if they win this 5v5 up at the Baron. With Red pinstering here, Envy from one side, Aegis from another.
Titan on the Zeri has Hedan bearing down on him, but Lava's been caught out, isolated by the all-out Ranger, and Natuno trying to take down Envy, flashes over the wall into the face of Anel, but he's got plenty of teammates to help him out, and it's 2 kills for Red. That fight just sprawled over the river, but Red won on all the fronts they needed. They'll take the Baron as the reward, and likely the Soul as well.
Yeah, Ranger does a great job there at zoning out the carry who's going to threaten Natuno. Unfortunately, Natuno didn't need to go and focus the Annie. The leading bulk of the fight, the important part, was happening elsewhere. Ranger would have been more than happy just dying in a 1v1 versus the Annie if it meant that the Annie never got to be a part of that fight. Instead, Natuno dives forward, focuses a lot of his attention onto the Annie, who goes into stasis and then flashes over a wall, and means that Natuno also basically does nothing. Red are able to win out on the top side of the fight. They get Baron, they get Mountain Soul, and now the game starting to get really wrapped up. 9,000 gold lead, it's slowly been ticking up and up and up. And every single team fight we've been saying, there are options for loss. There's a chance that they can make their way in, but now, up against the Mountain Soul, that poke just really doesn't hurt as much.
Yeah, Loss have been asking Red some hard questions in this game, but Red have always had the answer. This team, the super team that Envy denied it. Envy said it was, he didn't think it was true, but he would say that. So Envy on this Annie doing massive work, 2-2 and 11 right now, but Red Canids really showing that they're developing, they're building, they're evolving into that super team that I think deep down we all knew they were and were supposed to be coming into this split. Only with the likes of Pain, Fluxu, maybe Furia chasing them down, as Los Grandes still struggling to make it work, as the Baron waves now crashing in. The hard questions being asked by Red this time, and Los Grandes without really much resource to find the answer.
As if the Mountain Soul wasn't hard enough to try and poke through. The fact that it's just not connecting is also quite substantial for Los Grandes. And I want to credit Envy once again. Has not really had, on Annie, you don't typically get those big flashy plays, but has 4 plays of the Annie now. He's looking to make it a 100% win rate, sticking through his most played champion, and is always just at the right place at the right time. The decision making from this mid laner is always exceptional, always doing exactly what his team needs. As Red now break open the base in the mid lane with FNB, break open in the bot lane with the 4-man core. 2 inhibs are going to fall, and Los Grandes have somehow lost the poke war up against Static Shiv and have nothing to say for it.
It's a tough one. It is a tough pill to swallow for Los Grandes. Drafted an intriguing comp. I like the idea that they came in with the poke, turning into pick and team fight with potential disengage options as well. But that mid-game just did not go well for them. Too much ground losses. FNB forces the issue with the Intofo strike, but takes a lot of damage on the backside. Titan drops the ultimate. Los Grandes lancing one final defense, but a dive in and a cyclone from Aegis will seal the deal as the towers fall and the members will not survive from Los Grandes. They'll be dropped down to 2 and 6 as Red finally start extending that lead.
3-0.